The grand hall of the interstellar court gleamed under the soft glowing lights that floated above in slow, elegant circles. Crystal walls reflected hundreds of colors, bending them into patterns that made the space look alive. Alien dignitaries from dozens of planets filled the room, their bodies strange and beautiful, their voices a melodic hum of languages Lucas, the human guard, could barely understand. He stood near the entrance, tall and alert, his posture straight, eyes scanning every corner. The court was celebrating a rare treaty signing. It was meant to show unity among species and demonstrate that humans were trusted allies. At the center of the hall, elevated on a platform, stood Princess Arya of the Zephyrian Empire. She wore a flowing robe of silver and blue, her long hair shimmering in the ambient light. Her presence commanded attention. Every gesture she made, every smile or nod held authority and grace. To the alien attendees, she was almost untouchable, a symbol of her people's wisdom and strength. Lucas had been assigned as her personal guard for the event. The humans were still a minority in this court, and many aliens watched them with quiet suspicion. Lucas had learned early to remain calm and professional, blending observation with patience. Today, that patience would be tested in a way no one could have anticipated. As the ceremony proceeded, the princess lifted a small ceremonial glass, filled with a sparkling liquid meant to honor the treaty. She raised it high, signaling all present to do the same. Lucas noticed something, a glimmer, a tiny reflection that didn't belong. The glass caught the light in an unusual way, and for a split second, Lucas felt a chill. His training kicked in. He didn't yet know what was wrong, but something was not right. Before he could act, Princess Arya suddenly froze mid-motion. Her hand trembled as she tried to steady the glass, and then, without warning, her knees buckled. Gasps filled the room. Some alien diplomats stepped back, startled by the unexpected event. A few guards rushed forward, but their movements were slow, unsure. Lucas, however, was already moving. He sprinted across the polished floor, weaving between startled dignitaries. He reached the princess just as she began to fall, catching her in a swift, practiced motion. She was heavy but not unmanageable. His strength and training allowed him to absorb the shock of her collapse without dropping her. The glass shattered on the floor, spilling its contents in a sparkling puddle that hissed slightly as it touched the polished surface. "Step back," Lucas commanded, his voice cutting through the panic. "Clear the area." The crowd obeyed, some reluctantly, as they watched the human guard secure the princess. Lucas quickly lowered her onto a ceremonial couch, checking her pulse and breathing. Her face was pale, her eyes fluttering open and closed. She made no sound, no reaction to the chaos around her. "What happened?" whispered an alien attendant nearby. "I don't know yet," Lucas replied, scanning the room again. His eyes caught a faint shimmer on the edge of the broken glass, almost invisible. He crouched and touched it carefully, noting its unusual texture. It didn't match anything he had seen before. He slipped it into a small evidence pouch in his belt, his mind already racing through possibilities. The alien court erupted in murmurs. Some nobles began to argue, pointing fingers and accusing each other of negligence. A few whispered about curses and political plots, theories Lucas ignored. His focus remained on Princess Arya and the subtle signs no one else seemed to notice. Her collapse was not simple fainting. Her body's movements before she fell, the way her fingers twitched. Even the tiny residue on the floor suggested something deliberate. Medical attendants finally arrived, moving with graceful precision but slow caution. Their alien physiology was different, their understanding of human biology limited, yet they had advanced diagnostic devices that could detect most poisons and illnesses. They scanned her, their instruments beeping and shifting in colors Lucas had never seen before. "She is stable, but unresponsive," said one of the lead doctors, her voice calm but tense. "No common toxins detected. Vital signs are normal. This is unusual." Lucas felt a spark of confirmation. His instincts had been right. Whatever caused this was not ordinary. He stepped aside respectfully, letting the aliens work while observing every detail. His eyes caught a flicker of movement from one of the attendants near the refreshments table. A subtle adjustment of robes, a slight avoidance of the princess's gaze. Lucas made a mental note. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed from the far end of the hall. A minor explosion had erupted near the ceremonial banners, sending sparks flying. Panic surged through the crowd again. Many of the aliens froze, unsure how to react. Some even turned to flee. Lucas reacted instantly, He shielded Princess Arya with his own body, blocking any debris and fire from reaching her. The humans and a few trained alien guards moved quickly behind him, following his lead. The explosion was small, but its timing was suspicious. Lucas's mind raced. This was no accident. Someone had planned this event carefully, targeting the princess. He directed the nearest guards to secure the exits, scanning faces for anyone acting suspiciously. His human instincts for reading subtle body language told him more than any alien technology could. He noticed a few attendees who seemed oddly calm, almost too calm in the midst of chaos. His suspicion grew. Once the immediate danger passed, Lucas helped Princess Arya to sit upright. She blinked, confusion in her eyes as she slowly regained awareness. Her first words were weak but urgent. "What happened?" "You collapsed," Lucas said calmly. "You are safe now. I need you to stay seated while we figure out what caused this." She nodded, her eyes studying him briefly. There was no fear, only a flicker of trust. That brief connection mattered. Lucas realized then that he was not just protecting her body, but also the dignity of a ruler who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. The alien doctors continued their scans, puzzled by her unusual symptoms. Lucas quietly began collecting clues. He examined the broken glass more carefully, noting scratches on the rim that suggested tampering. He watched the attendants' reactions, their gestures, and whispered exchanges. Slowly, a picture began to form in his mind. A deliberate act designed to make the princess collapse publicly, to embarrass her and destabilize the court. Lucas's ears caught a whisper from an attendant attempting to slip past unnoticed. He moved silently behind them, blocking their path. The attendant froze, caught in the act of something suspicious. Lucas's presence was commanding yet calm. He didn't accuse yet. He simply observed, letting the attendant reveal their own guilt through nervous movements. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The court remained tense, the dignitaries unsure whether to leave or stay. Rumors spread like wildfire. Lucas stayed vigilant, his focus unwavering. He watched patterns others ignored, the way the crowd reacted, the subtle signals of nervousness or deceit, and the tiny traces of residue left behind by the mysterious substance. By the end of the day, the immediate threat was controlled. Princess Arya was resting, surrounded by her trusted attendants. Lucas, still standing guard, felt a mix of pride and unease. Pride in his ability to respond swiftly and protect her. Unease because the situation was far from over. Whoever had targeted the princess was clever, and they had likely left more plans in motion. Lucas allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. He looked around the grand hall, now quiet except for the murmurs of the attending aliens. This was more than a test of strength or courage. It was a test of observation, intuition, and human ingenuity, and Lucas intended to pass it. As night fell, the lights of the crystal hall shimmered softly, casting long shadows. Lucas remained vigilant, standing near Princess Arya's side, knowing that the events of this day were only the beginning. Somewhere in the vast expanse of alien politics and intrigue, a plot was unfolding, and he, a single human guard, would unravel it. The collapse had shocked the court, but Lucas's eyes burned with determination. He would not let mystery and malice triumph, not while he had the chance to protect and solve what others could not even see. Humanity, he realized, was more than muscle and courage. It was intelligence, patience, and the willingness to act when others hesitated, and Lucas was ready. The morning light filtered through the crystal walls of the court's medical chamber, casting a soft glow over Princess Arya as she rested on a raised bed. Her breathing was steady, but her eyes remained half-lidded, reflecting exhaustion and lingering confusion. Lucas stood nearby, silent and alert, watching every detail. The previous day's events weighed heavily on him. He knew the collapse was no accident, and the small explosion near the banners confirmed his suspicion. Someone had tried to destabilize the court, and the princess had been their target. The alien doctors were already at work, hovering with devices that emitted soft hums and changing lights. They were experts in Zephyrian physiology and could detect nearly any illness or common toxin. Yet they found nothing. No poison, no virus, no anomaly beyond faint tremors that the princess had experienced during her collapse. The lead doctor, a tall being with translucent skin that revealed shifting veins of light, spoke in a calm, analytical tone. "It is puzzling," the doctor said, glancing at Lucas. "All scans show normal functions, There is no substance in her system that could cause collapse. The incident remains unexplained. Lucas nodded slowly. He didn't speak much, but his mind worked faster than any scanning device. He crouched near the bed, examining the princess's hands and wrists, noting tiny abrasions and traces of a faint powder that the medical instruments barely registered. He recognized the pattern from his human training, subtle, almost invisible, meant to escape attention. "Do you need assistance?" the doctor asked, noticing Lucas's intense scrutiny. "I need to check the area where the glass came from," Lucas replied, keeping his tone neutral. "And speak with the attendants." The doctor raised a slender, glowing eyebrow but made no objection. Lucas turned to the attendants, who were cleaning and organizing the medical instruments. They moved with practiced efficiency, but their nervous glances betrayed unease. Lucas noted the reactions of each one, storing every movement in his mind. He began his inquiry gently. "Who served the ceremonial drinks yesterday?" he asked. A young attendant, looking pale and anxious, stepped forward. "I did guard Lucas," she said. "It is my duty. I don't understand what happened." "Princess Arya. She was perfect when I handed her the glass. Then she fell." Lucas nodded. Her voice sounded sincere, but he noticed her fingers trembling as she spoke. Subtle, nearly imperceptible movements like these often revealed more than words. He didn't accuse. He simply observed. "I need to see the storage area for the ceremonial items," Lucas continued. The attendant hesitated but led him to a back room filled with supplies. Glasses, trays, ceremonial robes, and jars of liquids used in rituals. Lucas's eyes scanned quickly. Everything appeared in order, but he noticed one shelf slightly misaligned. He crouched and examined it, discovering a faint residue near the back edge, a powder similar to what he had seen on the princess's hands. Lucas carefully collected a small sample in his evidence pouch. This was his first tangible lead. The powder was rare, likely difficult to obtain, and its presence suggested deliberate tampering. Whoever had done this had knowledge of both alien customs and toxins, making the perpetrator clever and dangerous. Returning to the medical chamber, Lucas reviewed the events in his mind. The collapse, the tiny explosion, the subtle residue, all pointed to a coordinated attempt to create confusion and fear in the court. The goal was clear: weaken the princess, undermine trust in her leadership, and perhaps even create an opportunity for political maneuvering by an ambitious noble. Princess Arya stirred, lifting her head slightly. "Lucas," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with curiosity. "Do you know why this happened?" Lucas shook his head, keeping his expression calm. "Not yet, Princess, but I am gathering information. I will find out who did this and why." Her eyes met his, and for a moment there was understanding. She trusted him, a human in a court where most aliens still doubted humanity's abilities. That trust mattered. It was rare for a human to earn the respect of the Zephyrian elite so quickly, and Lucas knew he could not betray it. The day passed with Lucas quietly moving through the court, observing, questioning, and noting patterns. He checked attendants, security personnel, and even minor officials who had access to the ceremonial items. Each interaction was brief, polite, but precise. He learned small things: who avoided eye contact, who fidgeted, who repeated explanations unnecessarily. By afternoon, Lucas had narrowed down a few individuals whose behavior seemed inconsistent. He did not confront them yet. Instead, he continued to gather evidence, knowing that patience often revealed more than direct accusations. The subtlety of human observation, he thought, was sometimes superior to even the most advanced alien technology. Meanwhile, Princess Arya recovered steadily. She spent the day in quiet conversation with Lucas, discussing the events of the previous day, her duties, and her concerns about the stability of the court. Lucas listened carefully, noting not only her words but her body language, the way her hands moved, the slight tension in her shoulders. "Every detail mattered. What do you think happened?" she asked finally, her voice low, almost hesitant. Lucas considered his words carefully. "Someone wanted to make you appear weak, Princess. I believe it was deliberate. The collapse was not an accident." Her eyes widened slightly, reflecting both concern and determination. "Deliberate? In this court? Who would risk such an act?" Lucas's jaw tightened slightly. "Someone clever. Someone who understands the court, its rules and its weaknesses. They wanted to create confusion and fear. But I will find them. I promise you. As evening approached, Lucas moved to examine the glass fragments collected from the previous day. He noticed faint scratches along the rim, signs that the glass had been tampered with before being handed to the princess. Combined with the residue he had collected, it was clear that the collapse had been carefully planned. He also checked security footage, though it was limited due to alien privacy protocols. Still, he caught subtle movements. An attendant approaching the ceremonial table before the event, lingering for longer than necessary, then retreating with unusual haste. Lucas's instincts confirmed what the evidence suggested. The act had been deliberate and methodical. Lucas compiled his observations in his mind, connecting dots that others might have missed. The clues were small, subtle, almost invisible, but together they painted a picture of calculated sabotage. He realized the threat extended beyond yesterday's events. If left unchecked, the conspirator could attempt another act, perhaps more dangerous and harder to detect. As night fell, the court quieted. Alien guards rotated shifts, attendants tidied the chamber, and Princess Arya rested comfortably. Lucas remained vigilant, standing near the bed, his mind racing with plans for the next day. He knew he had to act carefully. A wrong move could endanger the princess or alert the conspirator. He reviewed everything he had learned: the residue, the tampered glass, the suspicious behavior, the subtle explosion. Each clue pointed to a single conclusion. Someone within the court had orchestrated this attack. The question now was who, and how far they would go to achieve their goals. Lucas allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. Being human in this alien environment was not easy. He had to rely on instincts, logic, and careful observation, rather than the unquestioned respect granted to aliens of higher status. Yet he realized that human ingenuity and determination often allowed him to see what others could not. This advantage, he decided, would be key in unraveling the mystery. Before leaving the chamber for a short rest, Lucas glanced once more at Princess Arya. She was sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger still lingering in the shadows of the court. Her trust in him was a fragile yet powerful bond. Lucas silently promised himself that he would not let her down. Outside, the corridors were quiet, but Lucas's mind remained active. He retraced the events, re-examined patterns, and rehearsed potential confrontations in his head. By the time he returned to the chamber, he had formed a plan. Tomorrow he would confront the key suspects indirectly, observe their reactions, and gather further evidence. Only then could he act decisively. The night ended with Lucas standing guard, his posture straight, eyes sharp. The collapse had shocked the court, but it had also revealed an opportunity. Humans, with their unique abilities to observe, analyze, and act, could solve what aliens often overlooked. Lucas was ready to prove it. The princess was safe for now, but Lucas knew that the mystery was far from solved. And in the quiet corridors of the interstellar court, the first threads of a dangerous plot had begun to unravel, guided by the mind and courage of a single human guard. The next morning, the interstellar court was tense. Word of Princess Arya's collapse had spread, and whispers of intrigue and conspiracy filled every corridor. Alien nobles huddled in quiet conversations, their faces masks of concern, suspicion, and in some cases, fear. Lucas walked among them, calm and observant. Though the court looked orderly, he knew danger was still present, hidden in subtle gestures, whispered words, and calculated movements. He had spent the night reviewing the clues he had gathered: the residue on the ceremonial glass, the tampering on the shelf in the storage room, and the faint scratches on the glass rim. Combined with the suspicious behaviors of certain attendants, the pattern was clear. Someone had carefully planned this attack, targeting the princess to weaken her position and create confusion. Lucas had narrowed the list of possible culprits, but he needed proof. Lucas decided to approach the investigation carefully. He would watch the suspects closely, observing their reactions, their mannerisms, and any signs of deceit. The key was subtlety. The moment anyone sensed suspicion, the trail could go cold. Humans had the advantage of patience, something many of the aliens lacked. Princess Arya, now fully awake, greeted Lucas with a nod. "You have not left my side," she observed, a slight smile playing on her lips. "I stay close until the threat is identified," Lucas replied simply. It is the safest way. She looked thoughtful. I trust your judgment, Lucas. The court relies too much on tradition, and that leaves blind spots. Lucas nodded. That trust was important. He had to act not only to protect her physically, but to ensure the stability of her court. If the conspirator succeeded, the consequences could ripple across planets, destabilizing alliances that had taken decades to form. The day began with ceremonial duties, and Lucas used the opportunity to observe his suspects discreetly. He noticed a high-ranking noble named Zareth, who had access to the ceremonial items and had been present near the princess's glass the previous day. Zareth moved with precision, but Lucas noticed tiny signs of nervousness, a trembling hand, a quick glance toward a storage room, and hesitation in speech when asked routine questions. Lucas also monitored several attendants who had handled the ceremonial items. One, a young alien named Tira, avoided eye contact whenever the topic of the collapse arose. Another, an older attendant named Kilo, seemed unusually eager to offer explanations almost rehearsed. Each reaction was a puzzle piece, and Lucas's mind worked tirelessly to fit them together. Midway through the day, Lucas requested access to the storage room under the pretext of inventory checks. The lead doctor accompanied him, though she did not question his request. Once inside, Lucas moved with careful precision, examining every shelf, every tray, and every jar. He noticed a faint pattern of tampering. Several glasses had subtle scratches, and a few vials of ceremonial liquids had been moved out of order. It was subtle, almost invisible, but enough to indicate deliberate planning. Lucas collected a small sample of another substance, similar to the powder he had found earlier, and stored it carefully. He had enough evidence now to suggest a deliberate act, though he still needed to identify the person responsible. He left the storage room and began observing the suspects again. Zareth moved to the far end of the hall, engaging with other nobles while Tira and Kilo attended to minor ceremonial tasks. Lucas noticed Zareth's hand twitch slightly whenever someone mentioned the princess, a small but telling sign of anxiety. Tira seemed to shift her weight nervously, glancing repeatedly at Lucas as if sensing his scrutiny. Kilo, meanwhile, spoke more than necessary, offering explanations for events no one had questioned. Lucas knew the next step was to provoke a reaction without alerting the suspects. He arranged for a casual demonstration of the ceremonial items, asking each attendant to explain their handling and preparation. Lucas watched closely, analyzing gestures, speech patterns, and eye movements. When Tira handled a ceremonial glass, Lucas's eyes caught a subtle hesitation. Her fingers trembled slightly, and she avoided looking at him. It was not a large reaction, but it was enough. Lucas made a mental note. Zareth, meanwhile, stepped forward to demonstrate a ceremonial ritual. Lucas observed the movements closely. The noble's motions were precise, almost practiced, but there was a slight imbalance, a hesitation in handling the ceremonial liquid. Lucas's instincts told him this was a clue. Zareth knew something but was trying to conceal it. The afternoon progressed, and Lucas began to piece together a timeline. The collapse, the explosion, and the subtle signs of tampering all pointed to Zareth as the primary suspect. However, Tira's nervous behavior suggested she might have assisted or been coerced. Kilo's eagerness indicated either complicity or a desire to mislead investigators. Lucas decided it was time to act. He requested a private audience with Princess Arya, explaining his observations and his suspicions. She listened carefully, her face calm but focused. "You are certain of this?" she asked quietly. "I am confident, Princess. Zareth is the main suspect, with possible assistance from attendants who may have been manipulated. I have gathered evidence, but we need a controlled situation to confirm their actions." Arya nodded. "Then proceed. I will trust your judgment." Lucas prepared a small demonstration using ceremonial glasses and liquids, similar to those used in the event when she collapsed. He invited Zareth, Tira, and Kilo under the pretext of a routine rehearsal. Lucas positioned himself strategically, allowing him to observe every movement without alerting them to his scrutiny. As the demonstration began, Lucas noticed subtle tells. Zareth's fingers trembled slightly as he poured the liquid. A faint smirk crossed his face when he thought no one was looking, and his eyes darted toward a hidden compartment. Tira's gaze shifted repeatedly to Zareth as if waiting for instructions, while Kilo narrated every motion excessively. Lucas's mind worked quickly. He knew he had caught the behavior he was seeking: nervous gestures, avoidance, and over-explaining. He carefully collected a few more samples from the demonstration, preserving evidence that would be undeniable. Finally, Lucas acted decisively. "Step aside," he commanded, his voice firm but calm. "All of you." The three froze. Lucas stepped forward, producing the collected residue and pointing out the tampered glasses. This substance was placed on the ceremonial glasses to cause harm to Princess Arya. Zareth, you had access, knowledge, and opportunity. Tira, Kilo, your actions assisted him, whether willingly or under pressure. Zareth's eyes widened in shock, but he quickly attempted to regain composure. "This is absurd. You accuse a noble of conspiracy without proof?" Lucas held up the evidence. "These powders, scratches, and behavioral signs are proof enough. The princess collapsed because of your deliberate act. The small explosion was timed to create panic, and you underestimated human observation." The room fell silent. Alien attendants and nobles watched, astonished that a human guard had uncovered what they had missed. Zareth attempted to speak, but his voice faltered under Lucas's steady gaze. Tira looked down, ashamed, while Kilo stammered, unable to defend the narrative he had constructed. Princess Arya stood, her posture regal and commanding. "Lucas is correct," she said firmly. "The evidence is undeniable. Zareth, your actions have endangered not only me but the stability of this court. You will face judgment for your betrayal." Zareth attempted one last defiant gesture, but Lucas moved swiftly, positioning himself between the noble and the princess. "Any further attempt to act will fail," he said. "The court is secure and the princess is protected," the alien court murmured in astonishment. It was rare for a human to act with such authority and precision, but Lucas had demonstrated both. His observation, patience, and calm under pressure had unraveled a plot that others had overlooked. Princess Arya approached Lucas, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Your actions today have saved me and the court," she said. "You have proven that humans can see what others ignore, and act where others hesitate." Lucas inclined his head respectfully. "It was my duty, Princess. But the threat may not be fully gone. Others may attempt similar acts. We must remain vigilant," Arya nodded. "Then we shall remain vigilant together." As Zareth, Tira, and Kilo were escorted to secure holding chambers for investigation, Lucas reflected on the events. The conspiracy had been clever and subtle, but human ingenuity and patience had revealed it. Observation, logic, and careful action had prevented disaster. The court slowly returned to normal, but the message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. Lucas had proven that courage, intellect, and attention to detail could match or surpass even the most cunning aliens. That night, Lucas stood guard once more near Princess Arya's chambers. She rested comfortably, unaware of the full extent of his investigation. Lucas reviewed the day in his mind, noting how each clue, each behavior, and each observation had contributed to solving the mystery. He realized that this was only the beginning. The conspirator had acted boldly, but there were likely others who watched, waiting for an opportunity. Lucas knew that human persistence, intelligence, and courage would be essential to protect the princess and maintain stability in the court. The interstellar court was vast, filled with intrigue and subtle dangers, but Lucas felt a quiet confidence. Humanity had proven itself capable of thinking, observing, and acting where others. The next morning, tension lingered like a shadow over the interstellar court. Word of the uncovered conspiracy had spread quickly, and the alien nobles whispered among themselves, their faces a mix of disbelief, anger, and unease. The arrest of Zareth, the high-ranking noble responsible for the princess's collapse, had shaken many. Yet Lucas knew the danger was far from over. Conspiracies rarely ended with a single capture, and he remained vigilant, determined to protect Princess Arya and maintain stability in the court. Princess Arya, now fully recovered, called Lucas to her chambers for a private discussion. Her composure was complete, her presence commanding yet calm. "Lucas," she said, her voice steady, "the court is uneasy. They are frightened, confused, and some may attempt more drastic measures. What is your plan?" Lucas bowed slightly. "We proceed carefully. Zareth is detained, but we must watch for his allies. Subtle acts of sabotage may follow. My plan is to observe, anticipate, and intervene before harm occurs." Arya nodded. You have proven your skills already. I trust your judgment." Her eyes softened, reflecting appreciation and confidence in him. Lucas, despite being human in a court dominated by aliens, felt the weight of that trust. It was rare and he would not betray it. The morning passed with Lucas moving through the court, blending in while observing. Every gesture, every glance, every whispered conversation could contain a clue. He noticed that some nobles avoided eye contact, while others lingered near strategic locations as if to monitor or interfere. Lucas cataloged each behavior carefully, noting potential threats. By midday, a subtle alert reached Lucas from the court security system. A minor disturbance near the ceremonial archives. Lucas responded immediately, moving swiftly through the corridors. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed behind him, but he did not falter. He reached the archives, where he found Zareth's second in command, an alien named Vaylor, attempting to tamper with historical records and ceremonial objects. Vaylor froze when Lucas appeared, his large eyes widening in surprise. I'm authorized to," he stammered. Lucas stepped forward, his posture calm but commanding. "Authorized to what? You know your actions are suspicious. Step aside." The alien hesitated, calculating his options. Lucas's presence was intimidating, not because of strength alone, but because of the quiet confidence in his observation and reaction. Humans, he had learned, had a unique way of assessing threats and acting decisively. Vaylor's hesitation was all Lucas needed. "You will stop immediately," Lucas said. "If you attempt any further sabotage, I will intervene and ensure your detention. You have been warned." Vaylor's shoulders slumped. He realized the human guard had anticipated his moves, observed his hesitation, and now held control of the situation. Lucas's keen awareness had prevented potential harm before it escalated. Later, Lucas returned to Princess Arya's chambers to report. Vaylor attempted minor sabotage in the archives. "He is contained and will be questioned," Lucas explained. Arya nodded. "Your vigilance has prevented disaster again. The court owes you much." Lucas inclined his head. "It is my duty, Princess, but we must remain watchful. There may be more involved than we suspect." Afternoon arrived with a ceremonial assembly meant to restore confidence in the court. The alien dignitaries gathered, but Lucas observed carefully, noting every gesture and movement. Princess Arya conducted the proceedings with grace and authority, her recovery complete. Yet Lucas remained alert. The conspirators, if still active, would seek subtle opportunities, and he had learned that patience and observation were key to prevention. During the assembly, Lucas noticed a subtle signal. A minor official near the refreshments table glanced repeatedly at the princess, adjusting items unnecessarily. His trained eyes recognized the pattern. Nervous, repetitive actions often indicated knowledge of wrongdoing or complicity. Lucas moved discreetly closer, observing without alerting the suspect. He saw the official slip a small vial from under a tray. Lucas's mind worked quickly, understanding the potential danger. He waited for the right moment, then intervened without causing panic. The official froze, caught in the act. Lucas addressed the assembly calmly but firmly. This individual attempted further interference with ceremonial items. They acted with knowledge of the prior plot. The court gasped. Alien attendants murmured, some in disbelief. Princess Arya's eyes were steady, her trust in Lucas evident. "You continue to uncover what others cannot," she said quietly. Lucas nodded. "Observation, patience, and careful action. That is how we ensure safety, Princess." The minor official was detained, and questioning revealed ties to the larger conspiracy. Though the initial plot had been foiled, Lucas realized that ambitious nobles could still seek ways to undermine the court. The lesson was clear. Constant vigilance, attention to detail, and human intuition were invaluable. Evening approached, and the court began to quiet. Lucas stayed near Princess Arya, ready for any unforeseen threat. His mind reflected on the day's events, the subtle gestures he had noticed, the actions prevented, and the way humans could perceive and respond where others might fail. Observation, analysis, and courage had made him indispensable in this alien environment. A quiet knock at the chamber door interrupted his thoughts. A messenger handed him a sealed message from one of the senior alien council members. Lucas opened it carefully, reading the contents. The message warned of additional unrest among certain nobles who resented human involvement in the court's security. Though no immediate threat was reported, the warning confirmed Lucas's concerns. The conspiracy might be larger than a few individuals. He reported the message to Princess Arya. The court remains unstable in certain quarters, he explained. Some may attempt minor disruptions testing our vigilance. Arya's gaze was firm. Then we remain prepared. Your human insight and courage have proven essential. Continue your watch. Lucas felt a sense of quiet determination. He had successfully confronted and contained conspirators, prevented sabotage, and ensured the princess's safety. Yet he knew that vigilance could not waver. Humans had an advantage in their adaptability and ability to perceive subtle threats, and he intended to use it fully. Late at night, Lucas walked the corridors alone, reviewing every interaction, every observation, and every small clue he had gathered. He reflected on the importance of careful monitoring and anticipation. Humans, he realized, were uniquely equipped to see patterns others overlooked, to act decisively, and to remain calm under pressure. The court, despite its advanced technology and complex hierarchy, had nearly been destabilized, but human skill had prevented disaster. He paused at the entrance to the princess's chambers, looking at her resting figure. She was unaware of the full extent of his work, yet her trust and reliance on him were a quiet testament to human reliability. Lucas silently promised that he would not falter, that he would remain vigilant, and that he would protect her and the court from any threat. The night was quiet, yet Lucas's mind was active. He planned for the following day: careful questioning of remaining suspects, reinforcement of security measures, and continued observation of court behavior. Each detail mattered. Each subtle gesture could indicate danger. Humans, Lucas thought, had a unique capacity to anticipate, analyze, and act, making them an invaluable force among the stars. As the crystal lights dimmed in the corridors, Lucas remained standing guard. The conspirators had been confronted, the immediate threats contained, but vigilance was eternal. His presence, calm and observant, reassured Princess Arya and underscored humanity's resourcefulness. The court had witnessed courage and intelligence in action, and Lucas knew this was only the beginning of his role in maintaining peace and stability. The night ended with Lucas reviewing the day's events once more. Every clue, every behavior, every subtle gesture had been analyzed. The conspiracy had been confronted, yet he knew others might attempt similar acts. Humans, with their unique perception and courage, had proven themselves capable. Lucas's determination was unwavering: to protect, to observe, and to act where others might hesitate. And in the silent corridors of the interstellar court, Lucas's presence remained a constant, a single human guard standing between the court and hidden dangers, proving that courage, intelligence, and vigilance could overcome even the most cunning conspiracies. The dawn broke gently over the interstellar court, casting soft light across the crystal floors and walls. Princess Arya was fully recovered, her strength and composure restored. Lucas stood nearby, watching the court slowly come to life, knowing that today would mark the final step in resolving the conspiracy. The previous days had tested every ounce of his human patience, observation, and courage, and now it was time to ensure justice was fully served. The court convened for a special session. Alien nobles, attendants, and council members gathered, their faces reflecting a mixture of curiosity, apprehension, and anticipation. Whispers filled the hall, but the air was charged with attention. Everyone knew that the truth would be revealed, and that the human guard who had saved the princess in the court would have a central role in the proceedings. Princess Arya stood tall at the front of the assembly, her presence commanding respect. She glanced at Lucas briefly, giving him a small nod. It was a silent acknowledgement of the trust and partnership they had formed over the past days. Lucas returned the nod, his expression calm but alert. Today, every detail mattered. The conspirators, Zyrith, Tira, Kilo, and Valor, were brought forward, their hands restrained. Lucas observed them carefully. Their faces showed a mixture of fear, frustration, and defiance. He had learned to read subtle tells in behavior, micro-expressions, nervous gestures, fleeting glances. Even in their attempts at composure, the truth of their guilt was evident. Princess Arya addressed the court, her voice steady and authoritative. The safety of this court and the well-being of its people have been threatened by deliberate acts of sabotage. These acts endangered not only me, but the stability of our governance. Thanks to careful observation and vigilance, the conspiracy has been uncovered. Lucas stepped forward, placing the evidence he had collected on a display table for all to see. Vials with residue, tampered glasses, detailed notes on behavior and interactions. The aliens in the court leaned forward, examining every detail. The proof was clear, undeniable, and precise. Human logic and diligence had revealed the invisible threads of a complex plot. He explained succinctly, pointing to each item and recounting his observations. The powder on the ceremonial glasses caused Princess Aria's collapse. The tampering with ceremonial items and the orchestrated minor explosion were coordinated to create confusion and fear. Zareth and his accomplices intended to weaken the court and manipulate events to their advantage. Gasps and murmurs filled the hall. Some nobles could not believe that a human had uncovered what they themselves had missed. Lucas remained calm, his presence a steadying force. Princess Aria raised her hand for silence. Lucas has demonstrated extraordinary insight, courage, and diligence. His actions prevented disaster, protected my life, and ensured the stability of this court. The conspirators will face judgment in accordance with our laws, and justice will be served. Zareth stepped forward, attempting to argue, but Lucas's steady gaze silenced him. The human guard's calm authority made it clear that any attempt at deception would fail. Valor, Tira, and Kilo remained tense, realizing their schemes were fully exposed. The council convened, reviewing the evidence and testimonies. Each conspirator was questioned, their actions and intentions carefully examined. The proof was overwhelming. The powders, tampered glasses, behavior patterns, and repeated attempts at sabotage left no room for doubt. Lucas observed silently, noting the reactions of each conspirator. Zareth's defiance faltered under scrutiny, and Valor's attempts to shift blame were met with sharp counterpoints. Tira admitted hesitation and assistance, while Kilo's over-explaining revealed attempts to mislead investigators. Human observation had unraveled the subtle lies that the aliens themselves had overlooked. After hours of deliberation, the council delivered its verdict. Zareth was stripped of rank and confined for a lengthy period, unable to influence the court further. Valor, Tira, and Kilo faced detention and reassignment to labor and oversight duties. The court's message was clear: sabotage and treachery would not be tolerated. Princess Aria turned to Lucas once the verdict was announced. Her eyes reflected gratitude and respect. "Your actions have saved not only me but the integrity of this court," she said softly. "Human skill, patience, and courage have proven invaluable. You have my deepest respect." Lucas bowed slightly. "It is my duty, Princess. The court is safe, and that is enough." Despite his humility, Lucas felt a quiet satisfaction. The court had witnessed what humans could do: careful observation, logical analysis, patience, and decisive action. These qualities, often underestimated by the aliens, had ensured the safety of the princess and prevented chaos. Humanity had proven itself capable, even in a world far from Earth. Later that evening, the court celebrated the restoration of order. Alien nobles offered cautious congratulations to Lucas, their tone respectful and sincere. Even those who had doubted humanity now recognized the skill and courage of a single human who had acted decisively when others hesitated. Princess Aria invited Lucas to join her for a private walk along the crystal corridors. The soft glow of the walls reflected their figures as they moved in quiet conversation. "You have changed the perception of humans in this court," Aria said. "Your insight, courage, and patience have proven that humanity can handle challenges others cannot." "You have my eternal gratitude." Lucas shook his head slightly. "I acted because it was necessary, Princess. Humans can observe, analyze, and respond where others may fail. That is our strength. But it is your trust and your willingness to act on that observation that allowed us to succeed." Aria smiled, a small, genuine expression. "Perhaps humans are more capable than many realize. You have shown that courage and intelligence are not limited by species." Lucas allowed himself a moment of reflection. He had been placed in an alien environment, facing threats that were unfamiliar and dangerous. Yet through observation, patience, and careful action, he had ensured the safety of the princess and the court. Humanity's adaptability and ingenuity had made the difference. As they returned to the chambers, Lucas felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. The conspiracy had been resolved, the conspirators punished, and the court stabilized. But more importantly, a new understanding had formed. Humans, though different, possessed unique abilities that could make them indispensable allies and protectors. The night settled over the court, peaceful and calm. Lucas stood near Princess Arya's chambers, watching the crystal walls reflect the soft lights. The immediate threat had passed, but vigilance remained necessary. He reviewed the events in his mind: the initial collapse, the tampered glasses, the subtle explosion, the behavioral tells, and the eventual capture of the conspirators. Each step had required patience, observation, and courage, the hallmarks of human capability. Princess Arya, now resting safely, relied on Lucas not only for protection, but as a symbol of human ingenuity and vigilance. The court had learned a valuable lesson. Appearances could deceive, subtle threats could exist, and humans, with their unique perspective, could see what others missed. Lucas reflected on the journey. From the initial collapse to uncovering the conspirators, every moment had tested his skills and determination. He had faced a challenge that required more than strength or technology. It required perception, patience, and careful reasoning. And in doing so, he had proven that humans could be heroes among the stars, capable of ensuring safety, justice, and stability even in the most alien environments. As the stars glimmered outside the court's transparent walls, Lucas remained vigilant, his mind prepared for whatever challenge might arise next. The court had witnessed human ingenuity, courage, and dedication, and Lucas, the guard who had unraveled a dangerous plot, stood as a living testament to humanity's potential. The princess slept peacefully, and the court would remain secure, at least for now. But Lucas knew this was more than a moment of victory. It was proof that humans, even as outsiders in an alien world, could observe, understand, and act in ways that protected life and justice. His presence was a reminder that courage, intelligence, and vigilance were universal, and that humanity's role in the stars was just beginning. As he stood watch, Lucas allowed himself a rare moment of quiet pride. The conspiracy had been defeated, justice served, and Princess Arya safe. The court had learned to respect the capabilities of a single human guard, and Lucas knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's influence in this interstellar world. The night was calm. The court secure, and Lucas, a human among aliens, had proven that courage, intelligence, and observation could change the course of events, even in a galaxy far from home.